and of both Jack and May in regards to this. Now, will we be voting for our alderman and mayor, but the GVRD representation will be appointed by council? Does that mean a member of council, or will that be, could it be anybody, public at large? Or?
Short answer.
No, it will have to be a member of council. There will be 5 members of council who will be appointed to the GVRD board, and that is a change from the previous situation where GVRD members were elected. Now they will be appointed by the council from the members of the council.
Quite satisfied with that?
I would much prefer to see them elected by the public, and I think this is a key issue in this election. I'm a great supporter of the regional district and Vancouver's role.
But it wasn't the council that changed this, it was the government.
No, it was provincial government.
Provincial government,
But I
that's
think
right.
the people should realize, though, they are not electing their regional representatives this time, and if the NPA takes a majority on city council, we will not have the strong support for the regional district that we have had in the past with people being elected.
She's been very subjective.
Yes, she is.
Are you
Well,
a big
I'm just-
supporter of GVRD?
No, the mayor is
Just
not.
well,
Not. You're
allow
not.
me.
Spoke against it yesterday.
If Mrs. Brown would allow me to speak for myself, I'd appreciate it. We'd have a nice understanding between us here, Jack. The fact is, the GVRD does a good job in certain respects. In other respects, it does not.
You're not in love with it.
I'm not in favor of expanding the GVRD, okay? I made that very clear.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to make 2 points. Free buses in the West End, the chappie says. What a joke. How much does transit really cost? Everyone knows it's a horrendous cost. And this man, he's trying to put more expense to the people of Vancouver when the storekeepers down on the free bus downtown are going to have a hard time coming up with the cash to carry on the free bus where it is. What a joke, man.
He's calling you a joker.
Well, that's fine. He's entitled to call
He's
me
right, of
whatever he
course.
wants.
$60 million deficit. There's going to be at least $15 million to be picked up by the
Sure.
municipalities
On
and
transit,
UTA.
sure. It's a very, very serious problem that we've inherited, Jack. No question about that.
Well, this is a ploy, Jack,
But
to
as
go
far
for
as-
free buses in the West End.
No, not
Just
at all.
a ploy.
Not at all. No, no, Jack. Look, I've already mentioned and referred to the fact that many other cities have this free bus system in their downtown areas.
Why just the West
go
End,
down
though?
to, oh, because, you know, you have to have certain limits on the system. And
May,
at
would
very
you
little
give free
cost,
buses
I
to
think-
West
we
End
can
voters?
extend it in the West End.
I would not make one residential area different than another. I mean, why would the people of the West End get free buses and the people in Main Street not? I think free buses in the downtown area, in the business district, in the shopping district
Paid
makes
for
sense.
by the merchants.
With a cooperative effort between the merchants and the city, we have some responsibility.
Anything else, sir? You sound quite bright.
Yes, I was undecided as to my vote, but certainly May Brown seems to be shining this morning in her exposure from you, Glenn.
Thank you. He's probably a team member.
I don't recognize the voice. Don't recognize the voice, but I like him.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I find Mr. Volrich's stand on cleaning up the downtown and honesty and these other points that he has made very commendable. But there is one thing that really bothers me, and it bothers a great number of people that I have spoken to in the community, and that is his answer to what happened over the Seiko watch business. Now, as the head of the police commission, if a theft took place in his department,
Well, Jack,
I think an investigation should have revealed this, and I am not satisfied, and I don't think...
Jack, I didn't raise the watch thing. I think you suffered enough over it, but it's placed up by a caller. You got to answer.
there's no theft, there was no evidence of wrongdoing on the part of anyone, Jack. We've made that clear before. If there had been, then certain steps would have been taken.
Lanowski was to blame, as I recall.
Jack, he had the handling of the situation. There was no wrongdoing on the part of anyone, and I'm satisfied on that.
It was just an unfortunate boo-boo all the way around.
Yes.
May, do you want to get in on this?
No, I was not involved.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Yes, could I address this call to May Brown?
Yes.
And did I understand you to say that you're in favor of lowering the business tax and pass the loss of revenue onto the taxpayer to make up?
Yeah.
No, I did not. I did not at all. My stand is that I would bring the industrial assessment, my proposal is to bring the industrial assessment down 5% to make it comparable to commercial assessment for the purpose of taxation. I said the business tax should be looked at now that we have a differential assessment. I said categorically there is nothing we can do about the business tax at this time because it involves $20 million revenue to the City of Vancouver. And I said that the 5% reduction in the industrial I would see was reduced in the budget so that there would be no increase from that on the homeowner tax.
What was 5% of the industrial assessment related to dollars?
If you took the total, it runs into about, if I just took a quick figure off it, it would be, say, it could be as much as $400,000. Now, we've already cut $500,000 off the budget for next year, which I was sure was being done before I made any proposal.
He said you're 4 or 5 million padded in the budget.
We're not, and I've proved it, and the mayor says it, but he cannot contradict what I'm saying.
Anyway, you say that your suggestion to lower the industrial assessment will be covered by the compensatory cuts in budget.
That's right,
True or
and
false?
no increase of
True or
taxes.
false?
Probably true, because I think that industrial properties should be assessed on the same basis as commercial
You agree?
properties. On that point. Jack, the whole point here, though, is this, that on business properties this year, a lot of them have suffered a very large increase in their taxes. Some have been 30%, some up to 50%. And I think the situation is one where we have to try to find some ways and means of bringing them some relief.
Go ahead, please.
I'd like to direct this question first to Mr. Volrich and to Ms. Brown. There's one issue that I haven't heard any of the mayoralty candidates talk about, and that's the expansion of the emergency equipment of the City of Vancouver and, just supplementing the emergency equipment. We have a very bad problem in the City of Vancouver, and I've been involved in some...
With what? With what?
With, like, for example, helicopter rescue. I've been in contact with the members.
Is this a relevant question at all for the City of
Yes, it
Vancouver?
is,
Sure,
yes,
because,
yes.
Jack, we had the experience a little while ago of the chlorine spill, on Main Street.
Oh, yes.
And so we're really talking about
My mistake.
coming to grips with that kind of a situation and making sure that we have a full emergency program ready to go to meet any kind of an
We
emergency.
don't have
of
at the
that
moment, do
Oh,
we?
yes, we have had. And right now we're updating it and making sure that we've got a first-rate emergency program ready to move into any particular problem.
You agree on this?
I think it's difficult to decide, and it's a thing that must be decided, as to what level of emergency you're prepared to have. In other words, do you always prepare for the worst possible disaster?
don't.
And that's expensive and you can't do it. You must coordinate.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, Jack. What I'm wondering about is why we have such a pair of people who are so obviously out of touch with the times to be running candidates for mayor.
In what way are they so out of touch?
Well, everyone knows that the reason that you have trade conventions and that is because you have entertainment for them. And now, if you do away with all of the entertainment,
Are you talking about prostitutes and nude male strippers?
that's exactly what brings people to the city.
Great stuff.
No
Well,
comment.
What I
And
have
that's not for publication.
what I have been promoting and working with the Visitors Bureau on through my Council Committee of the Arts is to say, yes, I think downtown Vancouver has to be an entertainment center. And the sorts of things I am promoting and coordinating are the cultural events, which we have in the theaters, which we have a lot of entertainment. We have City Stage, we have the Arts Club.
Fair
Now,
enough. What this
but I
guy
don't go
wants,
for the strippers.
What this guy wants is legalize prostituting. Wants to make it like North Beach
I
and
just
San
want to make it
Francisco.
available. They talk on one hand about getting the tourists here. What are they going to do when they get here?
Well,
Well,
if you want to get mugged in San Francisco, go to San Francisco.
Well, if I have to say I'm going to legalize prostitution to get elected mayor of Vancouver, no thanks.
No way. Jack, again you agreed. It's
Yes.
a love-in. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to direct this to Mayor Brown.
May Brown, yeah.
She seems to be taking the credit for bringing the plight of the drunks in Skid Row to the attention of the provincial government,
No.
when we all know it was Bruce Erickson who took the minister down there and
Yeah.
took him on a
No,
tour.
the-
Look, the problem was there before Bruce Erickson capitalized on it. He's done some good things in downtown Vancouver, but you're giving me a cue. I recently made an expose, a good expose, of some appalling conditions in personal care homes throughout the entire throughout the entire province. Some of them were in Vancouver.
Yes.
It seems to me that perhaps because of the political pressure of Erickson and his propaganda team, that you've neglected other equally important inspections in the city. And I'm not saying your inspectors don't go, but it doesn't come out in public from you people what I had on the air last week
Okay.
about scabies and poor old blind men and missing people not reported to the police, and what are, to me, quite shocking conditions.
Well, let me say this, Jack, that any kind of a situation of that kind that comes to my attention, I immediately ask the health people to go and investigate the situation. And we move very quickly on these particular situations.
But my
Now,
question
all we
is,
can look forward to...
have you not been harassed into spending far too much time in Ericsson's territory instead of looking after as well, and that needed looking after, other areas?
Yes, sometimes we lose sight of the fact that this is a big city and that it's just not the downtown east side.
Seems to me
and that there are
the council
problems
jumps
in
to
other parts.
attention every time Ericsson appears.
Yes, that's
And
absolutely right.
Well, I wanted to make it clear to your listener, your questioner, that I wasn't trying to take credit
No,
on
you-
the things.
you
I was
didn't.
just saying that I wanted to push, and I did act when the minister asked me on the site. I think the gentleman and you, Jack, are making a good point that we can tend, if we're not careful, to react to the place where the pressure's coming from rather than taking the bigger view. And certainly this question of the personal care homes is now surfacing as a very serious problem.
If I had a personal care, if I were responsible for a personal care home as an inspector in which there is an epidemic of scabies, I'd strip the people, move them out, and put them in a clean church hall until the place was either closed down or cleaned up. Wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the city of Vancouver is getting more and more involved because you see the Metropolitan Health are taking over on the long-term care. So we will have to be sure that we're meeting our responsibilities on this.
There's going to be a very
And you're-
substantial improvement in this whole situation in the months ahead, Jack, with this new program coming into effect.
And if I get any
But
more
you've
reports, I'll
done
help
us
you.
a service by highlighting it, there's no doubt.
Right? More phones. May Brown, Jack Volrich, this telephone call. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Webster, I would direct this to both.
Candidates.
Have they set aside any funds to update the Vancouver Fire Force to the extent that they have in Seattle?
Vancouver what?
To the point where they have a rescue scene and so on for people suffering from heart attacks or whatever.
We have the best inhalator system in North America.
We've got a good system right now, and it's built into our annual budget with the fire department. And as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the best services we provide.
3
people,
minutes
believe
to
me.
any section of the city, as I recall the old boast. And
Yes,
it's right, all
I,
right.
I would point out that we did have a review of the fire department last week at the Finance Committee, and members of the committee pointed out that we do spend quite a lot of money on the whole question of emergency service, and we wondered and queried whether we really were almost getting into health care costs. We have recommended to Council that we examine the precise costs for each call that the inhalator makes, and we examine whether we, in fact, as a city, should get some provincial sharing on those costs.
Yeah, but you
we have
can't
a high
cut,
standard.
you're not suggesting that you would cut the service
No,
because
we
of
have
the
a-
cost.
we have a
There's
high
no way we're
standard
going
of
to cut that
service.
service.
No
we
way.
have a very
No way.
good standard of service, and we'll keep it. No, there was no question of that. It's just a question of cost.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's nice to be back again, Jack, after somebody got trigger happy, after you give me a plaudit to say it. I'm a little bit intelligent.
I'm not letting you on again.
Yes, well...
No, you can't hog it. I refuse. Hold on. If I need you, I'll come back to you. If I don't, I won't. No.
Is
One
that the
shot.
first caller?
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Webster.
Morning.
I'm a West End Vancouver resident, and I want to say I don't think people in the West End should have free bus service. I think free bus service should be more for the disabled and the old age people.
Oh, well, but that's part of the point here, that there are many, many senior citizens who live in the West End.
All the hookers live in the West End.
Well, we'll have to charge them. We'll charge
them. They could get the free bus service.
But the elderly people, the senior citizens and the disabled, many of them live in the West End, and the whole point of it is to provide this service to
Jack,
those people.
you're ad-libbing. You're backing and filling like mad on that one.
Not at all, really. I intend to
the council
to
committee
implement
of
the service.
The Council Committee of the Disabled has been dealing with transportation for the handicapped. It's very inadequate in Vancouver, and certainly is a priority item if we're going to start giving free bus service.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Volrich, the fact that you have been unable to motivate the members of the City Council into reaching an agreement for a location for the new P&E complex, is this not an indication that you, sir, along with the other distinguished members of the City Council, lack the decisiveness and the leadership needed to govern this city?
Well, first of all, when we make decisions about location of multiplex or stadium and so on, I happen to have one opinion and I happen to have one vote out of 11. I had no difficulty at all personally in deciding that the logical place for a new stadium complex would be at the P&E. And I did not need to spend or waste $40,000 of taxpayers' money to carry out a study to lead me to that particular conclusion.
May, quickly.
Well, again, I think it's leadership. I think the Vancouver citizens should be consulted. The P&E has done their job. They want a stadium at the P&E, and they are the only ones who've done the job. If Vancouver wants a stadium, surely the mayor and members of council, this gentleman's perfectly correct.
Go ahead,
We
please.
should take the lead.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to direct my question to Mayor Volrich on his view of the multiplex. I'm a resident living in the northeast corner of Vancouver, 2 blocks away from the present P&E Stadium. And we're being bombarded on this corner by the proposals of teenage discos. McDonald's restaurants are going in at Cassiar and Hastings. We also have a Kootenai bus loop, and we also have a serious traffic problem at Cassiar and Hastings, taking 20 minutes for a 5-block bus trip between the...
You want no part of the multiplex, I gather.
And Mayor Volrich seems to think there's no voice coming from this end of town, but I'm ready to take a door-to-door thing, and we'll fight that right to the very end.
Okay, well, let me make this point clear. You can go door-to-door if you want. Other people have gone door-to-door. And the report that I have, whether it's right or wrong, is a question. But there are many, many people who live in the P&E community who want the P&E to remain there. And they don't want it to go somewhere else. And they're prepared to support the idea of a stadium at the P&E, so long as we can come to grips with some of the traffic problems. And you've most certainly identified one intersection where there has to be substantial improvement, and that, of course, is at Cassiar and Hastings, one of the worst intersections in the city. We've got to do some underpassing and overpassing at that particular location.
Then there'll be a fight with the provincial government that is part of the Trans-Canada Highway.
But we need improvements there.
I think it is really shocking that the mayor is sitting here supporting a multiplex which will destroy a residential area of Vancouver, and our planners have told us that for half a mile to a mile around the P&E, that with this tremendous project that's being proposed, our residential community would be destroyed. And I'd like to ask him if he'd like it in his community. He fought against a shopping center.
You live in Shaughnessy, I presume.
I live in
now
the
ask him if he'd like it in his. Ask him if he'd like it in
area.
his community.
No, you wouldn't.
And the answer has
Jack,
to be no.
I started in political life fighting against Marathon Realty, the Battle of Arbutus, because they were going to impose a great big shopping center in the middle of our area.
In his
community. But the fact is, Jack, the P&E is there. There's a stadium already
stuck
there.
with it.
It's been there for 50 years.
Let me try one on you, mate.
But the P&E, as it is now, is under control in terms of we can cope with that amount of traffic. We're talking now a 60,000-seat stadium plus a 450,000 exhibition space. We're talking tremendous traffic.
Just a moment, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You and Chunky Woodward want a 60,000-seat stadium on a downtown site.
Right.
Where would that be? The North Shore of Falls Creek?
That's one possibility, yes.
What are you going to do with the parking?
There are
Where are you going to park?
There are 38,000 parking stalls in downtown Vancouver now, and the planners are working on figures. And what I'm saying is a downtown location is preferable. It will not destroy a neighborhood, and what we're talking and proposing is a stadium only, not a multiplex.
Go ahead, please.
At one time, Jack Volrich said he would remove the school taxes, and now he doesn't mention it.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
At one time you allegedly said that you would remove all school taxes.
Oh, well, just a moment now.
Did you?
Well, just a moment, Jack. I've been consistent on this at all times, and that is we've got to continue to press the provincial government to remove school costs from the property tax. That's what I've always said, and that's what I still say today, and it's part of my program that we've got to keep pressing the provincial government to do just that.
But you can't remove it anyway, it's the provincial government.
No, but we can keep pressing the point, Jack.
But I think I would make the point that I believe in cooperation on these things, and I think if you're going to the provincial government, you go with strength.
Oh, just by the way.
No, you go with the backing of the BC Teachers Federation, the BC School Trustees Association, and the Vancouver School Board.
Just to be
They will
personal.
not support
And
that.
and
You don't
go
mind
there.
don't mind if I'm personal. How old are you, Jack? I forget. 50. Lawyer to trade.
Yes?
How old are you, mate?
58.
Something?
58.
Yes.
And to trade, what kind of business?
A businesswoman. I ran a boys' camp for 16
You ran a boys'
years.
camp. Okay, just one. And you live in Shaughnessy or Kerrisdale?
No. I live in Dunbar.
Dunbar, and you live in Kerrisdale. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I want to know this. The senior citizens have paid for their children and their grandchildren, so I think that they should be kind of off the hook.
Ma'am, your answer is purely provincial politically, and there is no other answer.
But she makes a good point, you know, that there are many retired couples, Jack, pensioners and so on. They live in their homes, and they still have to pay
they don't
school-
like it, but I
school
know there is
taxes.
a scheme by which you can defer your taxes as a charge against your property when
Not
you
many
die.
people use that. Not many people at all use
It's a
that.
very good scheme.
I think we
Well,
would do well to
people like to pay
persuade the
as they go.
provincial government on this one.
I know.
Yeah.
It means you've got to swallow your pride.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, Sir John.
Yes.
I have a complaint, one mainly against the present aldermanic system, whereby one cannot get to see one's alderman because he doesn't know who he is.
You mean the alderman doesn't know who he is, or the voter doesn't know who his alderman is?
Area he represents.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, if you go to a ward system, then you'll have that kind of a situation. But on the other side of the picture, right now,
The picture here being, for 8 years, British Housing and Management Corporation has been running low rental high-rise.
Have I lost the track here?
Okay, well, let me interrupt you to say this, sir. You've just brought up this one point about knowing what alderman to go to. But the other side of that is this, that under the present system, you as a citizen can go to any one of 10 aldermen, or you can go to all 10 of them if you want.
Where can I find them?
To get your point across.
Phone the City Hall, ask to speak
And
to...
I think every alderman will be accessible to you.
Fair enough, we'll leave it at that.
Well, I do think...
No, sir.
that
No, I've no more time.
He does have a point, though, that if you knew who your alderman was, you'd know that that person was very familiar with the specific problems. Sure, and in any case, you go to all.
Enough. My thanks to Jack Volrich, incumbent. My thanks to May Brown, challenger, on what seemed to me to be a very good exposition of some of the
It
problems
was very good, Jack. I
which
enjoyed
the
it.
city now faces. I wish each of you the necessary luck.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Here from Canadian Press is the latest development in the Farris affair. British Columbia Chief Justice John Farris of the Court of Appeal has now submitted his resignation to Justice Minister Otto Lang in the wake of the investigation into his conduct. The minister's office in Ottawa has confirmed it has received the Chief Justice's letter of resignation. The resignation, says this report, is apparently effective at the end of the year, and until that time, Farris will be on a leave of absence. And you know how the investigation began. The one question I raised this morning, very seriously, we'll give it more thought, is resignation sufficient? Should there be a public hearing? Linda, Monday.
We're talking about gun control and the 1-month amnesty program.
On guns. That should be good.
Yeah.
That and other things on Webster. Monday. Don't forget the best of Webster Sunday night, 6:30. 9 a.m. precisely Monday. Cope is in favor of pot-smoking teachers.
No, Cope is not in favor
Sounds
of
like it.
teachers. No.
Certainly sounds
No.
like it to me.
No.
Doesn't it sound like
I'm
it to you?
afraid, Chief.
Okay. Would you call me when you finished at Southlands Riding Club? when you're giving out the $10,000 check. My voice is on the air now, Mr. Attorney General. Yours is not. Please call me later. Bye.
And I'm coming forward and throwing my ring into the hat because
Your ring into the hat. That's a good way to do it. Now, which one do you like best of the three you've seen so far this morning?
So far, I like Mr. Ingram and the gentleman to his left.
To his left, that's me.
Yeah.
No, that's the cameraman. There's so much BS going up at City Hall.
Your language, Danny, that's good enough for Besides, but it's not good enough for BCTV. Do you want to see this kind of thing in down hookers on the street and nude male strippers in the clubs?
No, I don't want to see that, and I think that it's offensive to most people.
Do you find it offensive?
Very offensive.